country of Mexico is home to 125 million people, more than half under the age of 20. Many of Mexico's youth struggle with drugs, alcoholism, and violence, which contribute to lack of direction and broken families. The traditional Roman Catholic Church has political and social power, but few answers to the problems that plague these beautiful people. Over 15 years ago, Tim and Barb Wood answered God's call to shine the light of the gospel into the darkness of Ometepec, Mexico.
The gospel changes lives, and that's what we really want to see. We want to see change of lives, which changes society, you know,
Exactly.
and sometimes we try to change it from the top down, but the bottom up is what God did. I mean, Jesus says he talked to people in local society, and their families started changing, and society started changing.
Tim's parents, John and Madge Wood, began ministering in Ometepec in 1952, building relationships and gaining the trust of families. Tragically, they were killed in 1964 when Tim was just 10 years old. The testimony and love of John and Madge left a legacy of hearts open to the gospel. Now, over 50 years later, Tim, Barb, and their family live and minister in the house his parents built. They desire that people hear the gospel, respond to it, and permit God to transform their lives. They rise to the challenge of Paul in the book of Romans, use all means to share the gospel.
So we came to Ometepec, we put together what was known as the Maranatha Soccer Club. We had a youth team, we also had a children's team, and we had their first division team of the league. And that has created just a great atmosphere of meeting people with a ball. So sports opened up a lot. Then also as we moved in here, we found there was need for another church.
Although Tim's parents had planted a church years ago, Tim and Barb realized the community would benefit from new church plants in different parts of Ometepec.
When we came back in '98, about half of 1% of the people were Christians, and now probably over 2%, and working on that right now. We're in the church plant, 2 other places. We're planting new churches, and I've been working with our local presbytery and helping 3 other churches become churches, fully organized, independent groups that sustain and help themselves. I have a missionary camp we put on the end of July and beginning of August, and the objective there is to challenge leadership, young leadership typically. We go for 1 week of training, then 1 week of missionary service.
Tim and Barb conduct a winter beach camp in which teenagers from around the entire area enjoy a long weekend of beachside fun and enriching spiritual experience.
We started seeing that there was a tremendous need in education. Also, there was a level of society that it was hard to penetrate because they have everything. So we started praying to God about maybe starting a school.
Years later, this prayer became a reality in the community. Currently, there are over 120 junior high and high school students and 16 full-time faculty members, all benefiting from a beautiful campus right in the community.
The Lord has just really been blessing the school. It's called the Reginald Carey Brenton School. And we've had people, why did you name it that? Well, he's in your history. He was called the father of the Mexican Navy.
Captain Reginald Carey Brenton was a British admiral that not only provided leadership for the New Mexican Navy in the late 19th century, but also did missions work in the regions around Ometepec. As he neared the end of his ministry there, he prayed that God would send missionaries to carry on his work. Tim's parents, John and Madge Wood, were God's answer to that prayer.
Every week we minister in the hospital. We have a devotional in the waiting room, and then we go and share the Lord's message as well, bed to bed. And Amistad Hospital, continuing the vision that my father and Dr. James Boyce had of reaching the whole man, that they were sent down, the spiritual man and the physical man, and giving those words of hope that only God can give to each one of us.
So through sports, church planting, a community school, hospital ministry, and youth camps, Tim and Barb are impacting Ometepec for God's kingdom.
And I think that's what's exciting about the message of the gospel. It isn't a religious experience, it's a personal relationship with Jesus that changes, it's a life experience.
Tim and Barb appreciate your prayers for Mexico and for their ministry. Your prayer support and gifts maintain the programs that are changing lives, and help them to expand to meet the tremendous needs of the people they serve.